Today, on the 4th of April, many of us woke up with, expectations to see the exact skill of a G-Guardian being revealed. And we did get that with a little bit of a bonus that Bushra decided to drop on us. So, let's take a look at this new mechanic of G-Guardian on the official Vanguard website together, and then go over the other luggage that came together with the G-Guardian. So, as we can see on the official Vanguard page, we have behold the new era introducing G-Guardian. So, what is G-Guardian? G-Guardian is a defensive G-unit that allows you to protect yourself from an opponent's attack. And with the introduction of G-Guardian, the maximum card limit in the G-Zone will be increased to 16 cards. This is the luggage that I was talking about. It's like, G-Guardian is like your best friend that you invite to a party, and then the 16 card G-Zone limit is like that one friend they bring over that you don't actually know, so you just kind of awkwardly stand there not knowing what to do. Okay, that's a bit over dramatizing it, but I'm going to talk about the 16 card limit in a bit, but first let's cover G-Guardian because some people have not heard about it at all. So, it's effective in English from May 20th because that's when the new Fighters Collection releases. In Japan it's effective from April 30th, so there is a difference. So, what's great about a G-Guardian, it's got 15k shield, so when the conditions are met, and the conditions are that you must be both on grade 3, but it's not GB1, so you can potentially ride grade 3 first, then your opponent rides grade 3, and you immediately G-Guardian their attack, and then it goes back to your G-Zone face up, so you already have GB1, that kind of thing. So, what's written here is G-Guardian's call to the Guardian Circle work in the same way as normal Guardian, compared to normal Guardian, yeah, it's how larger shield, like it's a super strong Guardian, they're really hyping it up here. So, G-Guardian helps fulfill the conditions for activating Generation Break. At the end of the battle, the G-Guardian is put into G-Zone face up. Face up G-Guardians in G-Zone also count towards fulfilling the conditions for GB. So, that does... It's a very good mechanic. G-Guardians are like the mechanic we definitely needed. So, conditions are, both fighters must be a grade 3 or greater, and to use a G-Guardian, you have to discard a heal trigger. So, do take note. If you have 4 face-up G-Guardians in your G-Zone, you cannot use another one. So there are some units in Gear Chronicle that put G-Units face down, so you can, reuse them like that. But generally, you'll only be using 4 G-Guardians per fight, maximum, even if you can recycle your heals. So this just little GIF shows you how to use a G-Guardian. Basically, when they attack you, you can drop a heal, and then from your G-Zone, you take a G-Guardian and guard with it, and then it goes back to G-Zone face up. So, it's pretty simple. So yeah, they're going to be, all the double rares in Fighters Collection 2016 will be G-Guardian. That's like the thing we could predict as soon as they revealed it, basically. Now, this FAQ is quite important, so I'm actually going to read it out before we get onto the 16 card G-Zone part. So, this is obvious. So, can I include as many G-Guardians as I wish in my G-Deck? Yes, you can include a number of G-Guardians as you wish in your G-Deck, as long as you do not exceed the maximum of 16 cards in your G-Zone. However, you can only have up to 4 cards with the same card name, so standard stuff. When can G-Guardians be used in tournaments? May 20th. When my Vanguard is a grade 3, can I call a grade 4 G-Guardian? Yes, you can. So, What happens to the G-Guardian in the Guardian Circle? We already said. It goes to the G-Zone face up and not the drop zone. When considering the number of face-up units, we already went over that. And we also went over the GB1 part. Now this is obviously also important. If there's one face-up G unit in my G-Zone and one G-Guardian in my Guardian Circle, is the requirement for GB2 fulfilled? No, it's not. Because the G-Guardian is on your Guardian Circle and not in your G-Zone. For GB, stuff must be in your G-Zone. So, yeah. Can I pay the cost and stride a G-Guardian during my turn stride step? Nope, because G-Guardians don't have the stride skill. Can a G-Guardian attack? Nope, because they don't have the ability to be placed on the Vanguard Circle. For units such as Daikaiser Leon, basically if you retire a Guardian with Daikaiser Leon, you can also retire G-Guardians. So that's pretty important for us DP players. Can I call 2 or more G-Guardians during a single battle? Yes, you can, as long as you can fulfill the cost. For units such as Phantom Blaster Diablo, so this is important. With Phantom Blaster Diablo, even if you don't retire any units, like Diablo retires 3, and then you're supposed to retire 2, right? Even if you don't, you can just drop a heal in G-Guard. Or drop 2 heals and double G-Guard. So, this is pretty important. So you can choose not to sack your own field and to perform a G-Guardian. That's a pretty important thing. Now, the killer of OTT, or at least Silent Tom. For units such as Silent Tom with effects that prevent grade 0 cards from being called to the Guardian Circle from hand, can you do a G-Guardian as showed by the anime? Yes, you can. This applies to literally all the Guardian restrictors, so like Sinbuster, Glory, Silent Tom, Ragnarok, all that stuff, G-Guardians counter it, and this is a very sad tale for Silent Tom because he simply cannot keep up anymore, and I'm not going to be surprised if Silent Tom drops in value as well. A little Yatagarasu thing, like if you guard with a G-Guardian, it's not going to go to Soul, it's going to go back to your G-Zone. Can I turn a face-up G-Guardian my G-Zone with the ability of something like Wakey Wakey Worker? Yes, you can. Can I call a G-Guardian when my Vanguard is deleted? Yes. But when you stride, normally you would face up your Vanguard if it's deleted, but with G-Guardian you don't, because you don't stride, you just guard with it. Can I put cards other than heal triggers? Obviously not. When I add a card to my hand with G-Assist, can you remove G-Guardians? Yes, you can. When there are four face-up G-Guardians in my G-Zone and heal triggers are returned to my deck from the drop zone by Legion or other effects, can I draw a heal trigger once more? Can I call G-Guardian? Obviously not, because you can only do 4 G-Guardians per game. And the final one, is the number of times G-Guardian can be used in one game restricted to 4 or less? No, because there's some G-units, because you can flip, there's some units that can flip G-units face up or face down, so you flip it face up, then obviously you're going to G-Guard less, and if you flip it face down, then obviously you're going to G-Guard more, so it's not restricted to being 4 or less. Alright, let's get into the part that a lot of people probably came to this video for, because I did talk about this on Facebook and Twitter, and it does affect the game quite a lot. So this is the whole thing with 16 slots in the G-Zone being bumped up from the 8 that we used to have. Let me go over, I have very mixed feeling about this, but after thinking about it literally all day, they're mostly positive, but hear me out. First I'll go over the bad parts, because these bad parts I feel are very agreeable, and, well, one of them at least is definitely agreeable. So, the one bad part that will become less bad over time is that when we had 8 G units, it made the G-Zone deck building much more complex because you had to really think about what you want to put in because the space was so tight. Now you have so much space, it's easy and brainless. Well, for some decks it's easy and brainless, but thing is that at the start of G, even when we had 8 units of space for the G-Zone, it was also pretty brainless. You just played like the main stride, the main on-hit stride, and then create elementals. That's literally what everyone played. And now, after a year, it got complex. So I am sure that within a year after this update, it will also get complex even with 16. And honestly, it might not even take a year because they keep pumping out G units like hell, and it's just gonna, space is gonna get tight even with 16. Now, the main bad part that I don't think will ever get fixed because the community market is just so bad. So, yeah, the bad part is the market. G-Zones, for many decks, were already one of the most expensive parts of the deck. This only makes it worse. Not only because so many G units could have been teched in as like 2-ofs, 1-ofs, etc. because it's a situational, thing. But now, even things like, let's say if I only played 2 Aura Geysers because I didn't want to play Doomed and another one, now I need to pick up another Aura Geyser and a Doomed and shell out quite a lot of money because the prices of all the strides are only going to go up, honestly. So this just makes it worse. And the community market is just so bad, so chances are it's not going to get better. And this is the finishing point for this. For new players, this really sucks. I feel terrible for the new players that go into this game with a limited budget, because back in the day you could just, you have your 50 card main deck, it would cost like $200. I mean, it could cost a lot, it depends on what you built, but G units really added a lot to how much you need to spend on Vanguard, and the fact that there's 16 slots just makes it worse. Now, let's get on to the good parts and why I consider this change not that bad. First of all, yes, I also agree 10 slots or 12 slots would have been better, but 16 is not bad. We should stop wasting our time on what-ifs, and I highly do not advise that people send protesting emails and tweets and Facebook messages to Bushiroad about this, because yes, I do agree that 10 or 12 slots would have been just fine, but it's 16, and that's how it is. Don't waste your time on what-ifs and start deck building with 16 in mind. Whining about what could happen or what you could change by complaining to Bushiroad isn't going to make you better at the game. I'm just saying. Now, to get into the actual good parts, don't forget that this expansion was for G Guardians. So essentially, we got another extra 4 slots for G units, but the other 4 is supposed to go for G Guardians. And don't forget, yes, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has 15 card slots in the extra deck. Usually in the extra deck, you have about 7 cards that work with the archetype that you're playing, and then the other 8 are for counters, for countering specific situations that you're in, and they're just called staples. And I think that G-Guardians are one of the staples, and chances are that the other 4 slots that this opened up with the expansion will get filled up by another stride mechanic that is just there to counter your opponent's plays. So I think that G-Guardian is only the start of what they can do with the G-Zone, and they're not actually just going to go like, oh yeah, you can just go on, just play 12 strides. Chances are we're going to go back to 8 once they introduce another one, and it's going to be back to what it used to be. So I'm not panicking about this. For now, yes, it adds a lot more choice, but it's not that bad. The worst thing is that it adds how much you spend. Now, getting into more of the good parts, a lot of decks will actually appreciate this expansion. For example, Nova Grappler can play both Victor and Bustard and Victoplasma. Easily, you play 4 Victor, 4 Bustard, 2 Victoplasma, you're fine. Pillman can play all the Magia strides. DP decks like Sinbuster / Daikaiser in the same deck can now afford to play stuff like Earth and Daikaiser Leon, because now the space can allow you to do that. You don't miss out on like your heavy dukes and stuff like that. You can afford to easily play the Dimensional Robo strides in a mostly Metalborg deck while you're sitting on a Daikaiser Break Ride. So it's stuff like that. Decks like Asha will basically just increase the amounts of each G unit they play. I mean, and also including the Fighters Collection stride. And most decks, on that topic, most decks will simply take the 8 G units that they have now, add 4 G-Guardians, add 4 of the Fighters Collection strides from Fighters Collection 2016, and that's it. It simply gives you more choice to adapt to each situation, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Now, like I said, I don't mind this. I don't mind this expansion. I'm actually quite okay with it. It just takes adaptation. We've adapted before, we can adapt again. When there were Quintavals, people were like, what the hell is this? When we had break rights, when we had limit breaks, when we had Legion, when we had Stride for the first time, oh my god, triple crit, so bad. We always adapted, and we can do it again. So don't quit. Don't give up on the game just because there's a new mechanic. You've been through this before, we can get through it again. Seriously. But, there is a but. Bushiroad needs to adapt a few things. And my main argument is trial decks. Please, Bushiroad, this is my serious request. From now on, trial decks should include 2 normal G units and 2 G Guardians. If G Guardians are only going to be restricted to Fighters Collection 2016, they'll go out of stock worldwide really fast because everybody needs them, including current players and players that might join in half a year, and that's not going to end well. On that topic as well, I highly believe that they'll include higher rarity G-Guardians in future sets with better defensive skills. I really think that's going to happen. Chances are they'll make a G-Guardian that like cannot be retired by an effect or something like that, and it'll be like a double rare or triple rare in a main set, not in a Fighters Collection, because in a Fighters Collection, a double rare is like a common / rare kind of thing, right? To finish off, there is another bad thing that, like I mentioned, a lot of strides, the current strides that we could play as 2 ofs, like Spectral and stuff like that, are going to become even more expensive. So what we need, another thing Bushiroad, is a full-on reprint set. Not one that features a bunch of new cards and a few reprints, just a full-on reprint set. Hell, let the community give you tips on which cards need to be reprinted, because there are a lot, especially strides, and there's a lot of key cards and a lot of decks that are just really expensive right now. And trust me, if you made a reprint set, it would sell insanely well. To finish this off, I 100% understand people's reasons for the complaints, and I also would have preferred slightly less slots. But like I said, we've adapted before, and we can do it again. So I'm sure that after a year, even 16 can get clunky, and I'm sure that we're going to get over this, and we'll be fine with 16 once May 20th comes. Thank you very much for watching, and I bid you farewell.